Good night. Sweet dreams. That's what my dad would say to me. But sometimes I had trouble falling asleep. Then he would tell me stories about his travels. I want this tradition to live on. So now, let me share my stories with you. I'm awakened by the soft, dark tones of a double bass. The deep, velvety notes drift through the wall and into my dreams. At first, they belong to sleep. But gradually, the music changes shape, becoming part of the room around me. The melody pulls gently at the edges of my dreams until, without any real effort at all, I find myself awake. The music guides me out of sleep and into a new morning. The melody floats calmly through the room, while outside, the spring sun is already beckoning. I stretch luxuriously, step to the window in my pajamas, and look down onto the street, lined with old trees. Closely packed, brownstone houses stand shoulder to shoulder there. Those unmistakable sandstone buildings, with their characteristic stoops, those little staircases leading up to the raised entrances where people sit on summer evenings and watch the world go by. The sight makes my heart beat faster. The city is so overlaid with countless images from films, literature, and art that it feels strangely unreal to now truly and genuinely be here. New York, New York. I quickly slip into my clothes, determined not to miss a moment of this day. In the next room, my host stands in the middle of the space, completely absorbed in his music. The warm wood of the large instrument shimmers reddish in the morning sun. The tones vibrate through the room and seem to set all objects into an almost imperceptible motion. The heavy Persian rugs on the floor, the overfilled bookshelves, and yes, even the tiny specks of dust dance through the backlight as flickering points of light. Hans notices me after a moment. He stops playing and turns around. A wide grin spreads across his face. The years have added a few laugh lines, but behind them I instantly recognize the same mischievous boy I knew in elementary school. From first grade through fourth, we were inseparable. Explorers of backyard jungles, builders of treehouse fortresses, and occasional conspirators in extremely questionable science experiments. And somehow, despite the years and the ocean between us, we managed to stay in touch. Carefully, Hans sets the double bass aside. The entire room is filled with musical instruments, an electric bass, 2 guitars, and a trumpet. Even as a small boy, Hans was always singing, whistling, and drumming to himself. And now he has made it all the way to New York as a jazz musician. He grins at me and claps me on the shoulder. First, I'll show you where to get the best coffee in all of New York. Without any hurry, We stroll through the streets of the neighborhood. A hint of spring hangs in the air. That unmistakable moment when winter finally loosens its grip and the city begins to breathe again. For months, New York has been wrapped in coats and scarves and clouds of steam rising from subway grates. Now, people walk with lighter steps. Even the pigeons seem optimistic. Since the early 20th century, his neighborhood, Greenwich Village, has been the center of New York's bohemia. Musicians, writers, and visual artists met here in bars and restaurants, many of which have since become legends, much like their patrons. Legends such as musician Bob Dylan, artist Andy Warhol, comedian Lenny Bruce, and beatwriter Jack Kerouac. Not even 2 blocks from Hunt's apartment, there's a small cafe with brick walls and elegant wooden standing tables. The soft hum of the grinder fills the room, and a delicious scent of freshly ground coffee spreads through the cafe. Framed black and white photographs show scenes from the neighborhood, building facades with their typical fire escapes, casting geometric shadow patterns. A woman dragging a huge poodle along on a leash. Groups of people in sunglasses in front of a bar who simply look cool. There's no other way to put it. Once again, a shiver runs down my spine, as it keeps happening these days. I'm actually in New York, this world metropolis that has captivated people for hundreds of years. With our coffee in hand, we head toward the Christopher Street subway station. Hans has a concert tonight and still needs to rehearse, so he leaves me at the entrance. "See you at the Blue Note," he says. And just like that, I'm alone in New York. Which is exactly how I want it. Just me and the city. Even the subway feels exciting. The aluminum-colored trains look slightly like old tin cans on wheels, and when the doors close, they make a cheerful 2-tone chime that sounds strangely familiar, as if I once heard it long ago in a dream. Grinning, I sit on the blue bench and watch the people absorbed in newspapers or their phones while the train rushes along below 7th Avenue. It feels as though every corner, every street name, sets something resonating inside me. For no particular reason, I begin humming softly to myself. New York City boy, you'll never have a bored day. The Pet Shop Boys were absolutely right about that. We stop at Columbus Circle and I get off. In the center of the circle stands a tall marble column crowned by Christopher Columbus, watching silently as the traffic streams endlessly around him. A crazy contrast presents itself as soon as I emerge from underground. Behind the huge roundabout rise the imposing facades of grand buildings. The New York headquarters of CNN, the Deutsche Bank Center, and the famous Hearst Tower. Opposite them stretches the lush green of southwestern Central Park, surging against the skyscrapers like a sea. The blue sky is reflected in the glass of the buildings. The moment I enter the park, the bustle of Columbus Circle is already forgotten. Wide bike paths wind through the grass, and with its 850 acres, Central Park is in fact twice the size of Monaco. At random, I choose a path and stride along. The mighty trees stretch their bare branches into the blue spring sky, and here and there fresh leaves are already sprouting. After some time, I reach the stone Gapstow Bridge. In an elegant arc, it spans a glittering lake. Behind it rise the elegant pre-war apartment houses of Central Park West, their pale stone facades stepping upward in terraces toward the sky, so that they truly seem to tickle the clouds with a fine needle at their peaks. I settle down on a sunny patch of grass by the shore. The air seems filled with a soft hum. The anticipation of spring is almost tangible. The fresh, young green leaves of the beeches flutter around the trunks like a swarm of insects, and the sun warms my entire body. I feel the still slightly damp grass beneath me and enjoy the sensation of finally being able to linger again outdoors without a care. Winter still sits in my bones, but I can feel it leaving my body with each breath. With renewed energy, I continue on my way. Past picturesque pavilions where couples in love enjoy the springtime atmosphere. Past playgrounds where children of all ages romp around wildly as if possessed by the spring fever. And past bikers and runners priming their bodies for beach weather, maybe at Coney Island. Crossing the park from south to north on foot would take quite a long time, so I turn left and walk out of the park. Once more to the 1, 2, and 3 subway line. It takes me right to the heart of New York jazz culture, Harlem. As soon as I step out at 112th Street, it becomes clear. This neighborhood does not celebrate the discoverers of America, but the heroes of African American culture. At the northeastern end of Central Park, there's also a statue. But this time it is not Christopher Columbus. It is Duke Ellington. Dressed in a suit and standing very upright beside his piano, the jazz legend commemorates the era in which he made his name during the Harlem Renaissance. The 1920s and 30s turned Harlem into the center of black art and culture. At so-called rent parties, musicians gave concerts in their living rooms to be able to pay the rent. The neighborhood has changed a great deal since then, but its spirit has remained the same. I stand in awe in front of Apollo Theater. From far away, the vertical red neon sign is visible, held by a delicate steel framework. They all played here. Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, and the Jackson 5. Somewhat wistfully, I drift through the lively streets. The larger brownstone houses here stand more closely packed than in Greenwich Village, and the sidewalks are wider. Harlem used to be home to the wealthiest New Yorkers in the 19th century. Their stoops were built high to protect against the island's marshy flooding. And on every corner I stumble upon a church. From a particularly imposing building whose Gothic granite facade rises high into the sky, the sounds of gospel music ring out. I don't dare disturb the ceremony, but remain standing there for a moment, enchanted. The polyphonic singing, the call and response between the pastor and the congregation, and the rhythmic clapping have a power and energy that captivates me. Only after a while do I realize that I need to head back quickly if I don't want to miss Hans' concert. A day in New York passes faster than one would like. It is already dusk when I stroll toward the Blue Note, a well-known jazz club in Greenwich Village, where Hans' band will be performing tonight. The name fits the evening mood perfectly, because Blue Hour is just settling over the city, bathing houses, trees, and streets in a diffuse shimmer. The light strikes a similar chord within me as blue notes do, those tones of the blues scale that create the characteristic, melancholic, wistful atmosphere of the music. A special scent lingers in the air. The gentle warmth of the city's heated stones mingle with the fresh smell of bursting buds and the tantalizing hint of something unknown, something surprising. It is one of those special spring evenings when anything seems possible. From an unexpected conversation to a chance encounter that could change the course of one's life. In front of the club, I meet Hans' fellow musicians, whose laughter and animated conversation carry from half a block away. He introduces them to me one at a time: Bobby, the pianist, James, the drummer, and Nikita, the singer. The place is already packed when we go inside. I take a seat at one of the tables all the way in the back, yet I still have a good view of the stage. The bottles behind the curved bar are illuminated in blue, bathing the room in a dim, mysterious light. The room goes dark. I perceive the audience only as a silent mass, all attention focused on the stage. And then the first note sounds. The singer steps up to the microphone, and her voice is different from what I expected. Dark, but not deep. Smoky, yet at the same time of brilliant clarity. She is completely absorbed in herself, and yet so present that I cannot take my eyes off her. I let myself be enveloped by the music. Every pore of my body vibrates. When the last song begins, it feels as if my own words are being hurled at me from the stage. And Nikita's voice does indeed resemble that of the young Chet Baker. The lyrics really move me. I get along without you very well. Of course I do. Except perhaps in spring. But I should never think of spring, for that would surely break my heart in two. After the concert, the others head out together in search of one last drink somewhere in the village, but I'm ready to be alone. Their laughter drifts down the sidewalk as they disappear around the corner. For a moment I still consider joining them, but something inside me resists the idea of more conversation, more noise, more light. The music is still vibrating quietly inside me, like the last fading tone of a piano key. It feels right to let it settle undisturbed. So instead I begin walking back toward Hans' apartment alone. The night air is soft and mild. Spring has fully claimed the evening now, and the city seems to have exhaled after the long winter months. A gentle warmth lingers in the stone of the buildings, rising slowly from the sidewalks. The streets are calm but not empty. Here and there, people stroll unhurriedly beneath the streetlights. A couple pauses in front of a small restaurant, studying the menu in the window. Somewhere a taxi rolls past with a low humming sound, its tires whispering along the pavement. I turn down a quiet side street lined with brownstones. On several of the stoops, small groups of neighbors sit talking softly. Their conversations blend into a kind of comfortable murmur, like the distant sound of waves on a shore. Someone laughs. A dog shifts its paws against the steps. No one seems to be in a hurry. That is one of the strange and wonderful things about New York. For all its reputation as a restless, sleepless city, there are moments like this when it feels almost peaceful. I slow my pace even more. Above the rooftops, the sky is still deep blue from the last traces of twilight. A few early stars have begun to appear, faint but steady, hanging quietly over the city. The music from the club still echoes faintly in my memory. Nikita's voice, the soft brush of the drums, Hans leaning into the long, resonant notes of his bass. For a moment it feels as though those sounds are still drifting through the streets behind me. Eventually, I reach the building where Hans lives. The apartment is quiet when I step inside. Hans must still be out celebrating with the band. I move carefully through the dim hallway so as not to disturb the silence. Outside the open bedroom window, the city hums softly. Never completely silent, but calm in its own way. A distant subway rattles beneath the streets. Somewhere a door closes. A faint breeze stirs the curtains. I lie down and stretch out comfortably beneath the blankets. My body feels pleasantly tired from the long day of walking. The warmth of the spring air drifts slowly through the room, carrying with it the faint scent of blooming trees from the street below. For a while, I simply breathe. In and out. With each breath, the memories of the day pass gently through my mind. The first notes of the double bass in the morning, the magnolia blossoms opening in the sunlight, the quiet paths of Central Park, the statue of Duke Ellington watching over the northern edge of the park, and finally, the music tonight, filling the dim blue light of the club. All of it seems to blend together now into one long, gentle rhythm, like a song that began in the morning and is only now slowly fading away. My thoughts grow softer. The edges of the day begin to blur. Already sleep is drawing nearer again, the way the tide slowly returns to the shore. Just before drifting off, one last thought forms quietly. Yes, spring in New York has a way of touching something deep inside you. It is beautiful in a way that almost aches. The kind of beauty that makes you want to hold on to every moment just a little longer. But perhaps that is exactly what makes it so special. And with that quiet realization, the sounds of the city grow distant. The night settles softly around the room. And somewhere between one breath and the next, I fall gently asleep.